Well, yes, our next conversation is going to talk on improving national security, but you're going to make some pretty interesting findings on this particular segment. We're not being joined by Mr. Jonah Bauer, who is the Director General of the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you, my sister.
Now, for a number of people who do not know that this is a government institution, Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. Why do you think, first and foremost, we need such a center? Just wondering.
Yes, let me, good morning, Nigerians. Let me go back a bit to history, how the center came into being. Mm-hmm. Now, in 1951, the colonial administration set up this center as Man-O Training Bay in Victoria, Southern Cameroon. 1960, when we got independence, the center was relocated because that part of Nigeria was ceded to Cameroon. So it was relocated to Kura Falls in Jos in 1960. And the then Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, christened the name to Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. And there was an act that backed it up. Now, the history of the center, when there was agitation for independence, the colonial administration discovered that there was deficiency in people that will man the administration when independence was gotten. So this center was established to train people, build the capacity of people, Nigerians, and other people from other West African countries so that they can take over the administration from the colonial masters. That is why the center was established. And the mandate of the center is to help mold the characters of Nigerians to be good citizens and responsible leaders. Mm. We are a parastatal under Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development.
It is interesting how you have been there since since pre-independence era, I mean, since the colonial times. And now, I mean, this is 2021, you're still there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering where we currently are as a people. Oftentimes when we want to talk about attitudes, behaviors, even when with regards to security, even when the security agencies are telling us that, you know, we all should be involved in this security business, we all have a duty towards our country. I mean, your center should have been at the forefront, one of those at the forefront in educating people in terms of how to behave as citizens. Is that correct?
Yes, just like I said earlier on, Citizenship and Leadership Training Center is a training that help people to discover themselves. So
in that regard, what impact can you say you have had for the time of your existence, if we are currently where we are and we have a center like yours?
Yes, know that we have not been doing a lot. We have been doing a lot because people are coming and they have been coming. And just like I said, the center focuses on helping people to be good citizens and responsible leaders. Our training is adventure-based. We expose participants to some challenges in the environment, and then at the end of it, we bring out some virtues that will help them to be good citizens and responsible leaders. And these virtues include integrity, selfless service, courage, which is resilience, self-control, community service, and then volunteerism. Mm. All these are things that we teach people. And because it's a self-discovery, we help people to discover themselves. Things that ordinarily you think you cannot do. By the time you pass through us, you come out with those virtues. Mm. We deal with ethical issues. And you know, ethical issues are the foundation of every society.
Yeah, so that's a big question. That's the irony. I mean, this is where we are today. We're talking about insecurity. It's a huge problem. I mean, when you look at where we currently are, the indices oftentimes are not very good. Economically speaking, security-wise, you know, there is a lot of agitation from the submissions of the gentlemen who were here just before you came in. I mean, one of the reasons why we're talking about constitutional changes, we're talking about, you know, the meetings that governors have been having in recent times is because it looks like there is fire on the mountain and something needs to be urgently done. Would you say that, you know, that we have really received the impact, you know, that could have accrued to us from centers like yours? Or do you think that centers like yours need to be replicated across the country for us to be able to feel such an impact?
That is one. But the other issue is, when we started, Nigerian population may not be up to 15, maybe between 15 to 20 million. Now we are about over 200 million. And you know that, like my center, we used to have just about 8 training schools. Now we have about 11. And if you look at the capacity, we cannot meet up. There is an adage in Hausa that says, when the meat is so much, small oil cannot have any impact on that meat. And that is exactly what we are saying. But that is not to say that we cannot do anything. Now we are talking about good citizenship and responsible leadership. The strength or weakness of every community or nation depend on the characters of the people you have in the society. Now we are talking about issue of insecurity. We have to talk about how do we become good? We have to go back to the basis. The basic things, the foundation of every society that is there, this that has to do with the ethical issues, the Nigerian core values that we set aside, we have to bring it back. That's why we are working on issue of bringing citizenship education in the country. Because once you have that citizenship education, people will be enlightened. They will know what they are supposed to do.
And the citizenship education would not be within the 4 walls of classrooms. I mean, yes, of course, it'll be good if they're introduced in classrooms. But when you look at the fact that we have a lot of people who are not in schools, a lot of people who are not educated, how do you intend to get this message across?
And that is the more reason why, you know, our training is not the conventional education. It's an informal training that we have. It's outside the classroom. What we teach cannot be taught in the school, conventional school. But when people come, our training is short, but intensive training that we do. Within short time, people's mindset, the value orientation will change. So that is what we do. And by the time we are calling upon people to sponsor people, because we are a social service organization. But we need people who can sponsor people to bring them in. Like we are saying now, we have constituencies. If people that represent the constituency can bring a reasonable number of people, particularly the youth, for training, I'm telling you, they will change a lot of things.
It is interesting. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that you have been there before, you know, in Nigeria's independence. Your center has been there before Nigeria's independence. And I know that speaking with you behind the scenes, you know.
And let me even surprise you.
Yes.
For the past 2 years, the UNDP brought civilian JTF. You know civilian JTF?
Yes.
We trained 5,000 of them. And the training is ongoing. The ex-militants from Rivers State came and trained with us. And by the time
from the Niger Delta?
Yes, they came. By the time they passed through us, they are already reformed. That's why we are calling on all the governors to bring their people, the political talks, the NKLRA in Gombe, we reform them. So the ex-militants, ex-politic members should come to us, we train them. And they will never be the same. The drugs addict, we all do those training.
So are you in partnerships? I mean, it's interesting to note that you were involved in the setting up of the NYSC. And I think before now we used to hear of the Man O' War. Yes. We also know that, you know, a part of the requirements of the Nigerian army is that if they do not go to the NDA, sorry, to your center, they might not be able to graduate and become the soldiers that they are today. However, I mean, is there a way that this can be expanded in such a way that it takes more people on board? Or do you think that your center can evolve? When we look at the security challenges that we're facing today, and the fact that it's because we have a lot of people unemployed. I mean, there's a huge unemployment market, and generally ethics, because you talked about that, has now collapsed in such a way that a lot of people are seeing more benefits in crime and criminality than in doing good. I don't know if you see a role for your center in terms of how we should evolve to cater to the needs of what the country is facing today.
Let me also shock you, because you seem not to know much about us. UNDP can never do any empowerment program without bringing the participants for us to prepare them for 2 weeks, prepare the mindset.
United Nations Development Program?
Any empowerment they are doing, they involve us. We prepare the participants so that by the end of 2 weeks, those participants will now be ready for the training, for the empowerment that you have.
Yeah, but when you look at...
I'm coming. If you don't prepare all these participants, we have empowerments going on here and there. But you can see, you will tell me that the impact is not so much felt, because the participants were not fully prepared for that empowerment. You
have to admit that the impact has not been felt.
So some of them can even sell whatever you empower them with at the gate of the empowerment venue. Why? Because they have not been prepared. The mindset has not been changed. And that is what we do. We prepare these people. We prepare the youth to do what is right. And once that preparation is done, I'm telling you, there will be different people. You can imagine the tough political talks that we have that have been reformed, and they are contributing to the community where they are living. The same thing with the ex-militant that passed through us. You can never pass through us without having some experience that you will tell people in the future. If you interview any of our course participants that attended our program 50 or 60 years ago, he will always recall the experience he had with us. Even you that passed through NYSC, I'm sure you can still recall some of the thing you learned in the course of your experience in that place. Now, what we do is, the concept of our training is what we brought into the NYSC. Bring people from different backgrounds, put them together to do the same, to do activities as a group. And after some time, they will forget their differences and they will start working together as one. And that is what this nation needs.
When you think of the fact that programs like the NYC now are being threatened, I mean, one of the honorables just left here and he says that, you know, he's received a lot of concerns by parents now in the light of recent postings by the NYC. Laudable as the ideals of that program is now being threatened. I mean, when you say, oh, someone from Delta should go to Sokoto, for instance, the first thing that the parent of that person feels, even the individual himself or herself, is apprehension. How am I going to get there? Is it safe for my child to be there? You know, these are questions that people feel, even from north to south, from south to north. These are some of the apprehensions that people feel. When you look at the fact that, you know, such a program is being threatened by the state of security we have in the country today, what difference do you think that programs like yours can make to, first of all, bring down the current security challenges that we're facing in such a way that these laudable programs can continue?
Yeah, first of all, we have to work on the people. I told you initially that the strength or weakness of every community or country depends on the character of people that you have in that society or that country. So the issue now is, let's start working on the citizens. We have three kinds of citizens. The good citizens, the good ones that are always striving. They're always working towards making the country be good. We have the bad ones. I don't have to go into details, you know them. We have the passive one that are in the majority. We have to work on the citizens. Once we work and get more of good people in the country, then definitely all the things you are talking about will change. And how do we do that? We start as individuals. We have to be positive. We have to love our country. Issue of nationalism coming in now. If I have anything to say, let me be constructive in my criticisms. And let's be positive about this country. You see, this is the only country we have. You can never have any country behind this. Wherever you go, you are still a second citizen there. So we have to work on our countries to make it good.
Let's flip this to Lagos now. My colleagues have questions.
Yeah, you know, when you keep talking about training citizens to be good citizens, several things come to mind. First of all, what do you even tell them? What kind of message or training? What's the national ethos? Is there anything that you put across to them, say, look, this is what makes you a Nigerian, or this is the ethics or the ethos, you know, with which you need to be known? What's the message in that regard?
Yeah, actually, if you look at the nature of our training, I said it's adventure-based. And why we are unique is because what we do is different from the conventional training that we have. Most of the things we teach, most of the virtues we teach in our training school, when we talk about integrity, we always practicalize it in the course of the training. When we talk of teamwork, we practicalize it. When we talk of selfless service, we practicalize it. When we talk of community service, in the course of your stay with us, everything that we do, we practicalize it. So that by the time you leave that place, your mindset has already changed, because we help people, we do character development, value orientation, character development. By the time you expose you to all the kind of training we have, you live a different person. It's not a conventional lecture that you come and listen to people giving you lecture. No, it's practical in nature. So all these values that I mentioned are the values that we practically teach them in the course of the training. If you spend 2 weeks with us, by the time you leave with an experience. So that is why we said, if you look at the theme, we are celebrating 70 years. The theme of our celebration is optimizing the unique values of citizenship and leadership training for better Nigeria. So once you...
Just one second, if you can hear me.
Imbibe those virtues that you learn from us.
It's the leadership part that I'm a little more interested in, if you don't mind me butting in. It's the leadership part. I mean, you've talked extensively about the citizenship part. It's the leadership part that I'm interested in. I'm just wondering, can you reference anyone in leadership in Nigeria over the past almost 70 years, as you have said, that's risen to leadership position in the country? 70 years, and you've, according to your website, trained something in the region of 7 million people. Can you reference anyone in leadership in Nigeria that has passed through your system?
I don't want to mention specific people, but we are going to
Why not? Are you embarrassed by that?
Not embarrassed. We have them already on Thursday. When we are going to have the date, we are going to list the prominent Nigerians that passed through us.
Yes, but I mean, I'm sure Ayo has a reason for that.
What I'm telling you, we have them. I said you cannot graduate from NDA or police academy without passing through us. The security service, other security service, the DSS, the SS, they all pass through us. So I don't want to be specific, but you should know from my statement that, yes, there are some in the 50s and 60s, there are some emirs in this nation and other prominent people that passed through us. Some of them attended program in 1960s, 1950s, and 70s, early 70s. Just
one more thing. Just one more thing from me here.
I'm telling you,
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to see them, just as you have said, just see how many of them have risen to, top positions in federal or state governments all over the country. But then I'm also wondering, for those who may be interested in this system and hoping to rise to leadership, especially as we build up to a stronger political system in our country, what's the cost fee like? About how much is it for which causes?
I mentioned earlier on that Citizenship and Leadership Center is a social service organization. And it's our desire that every Nigerian, just like I was saying,
don't pay anything at all? Is it free?
It's not free, but it's very minimum. The charges, when you come and spend 10 days, you don't spend less than 50. More
so
than 50,000.
How much specifically can you put? How much is it so that anyone can want to?
We categorize. The rate for the charges is categorized in groups. We have different kind of courses, right from the junior. We have the executive. We have the senior. We have the intermediate. We have the special program. And then
can you give us instances of how much is a basic course, for instance?
Like a basic course, students, those in secondary school and colleges of education, we charge 1,500 to 2,000 per day per participant. Civil servants like you and public servants, because we train is open to both private and public. So we charge 5,000 per day per participant. If you spend 10 days with us, 100,000 and 50,000. And for you to have a maximum impact of our training, you don't spend less than 10 days. The executive, particularly we charge them according to the number of days they want to stay. Some of them don't want to use our facilities, so they go to hotels. So we charge them differently. But those that use our facility, their charges are minimal.
So apart from the requirements, the fact that people are required to come by law to come and fulfill their mandate with you, are there, and the United Nations Development Program, which obviously knows about your services, are you able to engage with other non-governmental actors, perhaps secondary schools, perhaps other even private universities, to start this leadership, maybe to partner with them to fill whatever gaps you think ought to be filled by your agency in society?
Yeah, it used to be compulsory, mandatory for all the unity schools. But because there is no law imposing on them that they have to come. Some of them don't come, but some of them still come. We have our acts, amended acts now in the National Assembly. And in that act,
what
we want to make it.
For? Yeah.
We want, there are certain categories of people that we want to make this course compulsory. You cannot hold political office without passing through us. The schools also, we made it compulsory for all the secondary and tertiary institutions.
That would be very interesting if people cannot hold political office without having gone through your institution.
By the time they come, that will expose them to know more about what they are supposed to do in office.
Do you think that is what the gap is? Every time we complain about leadership, do you think that is where we are lacking?
That may help. That may help. It may not be the complete solution, but it will help to some extent.
Well, I think on this point we can say congratulations to you and your agency as you clock 70. We will definitely be looking forward to seeing the people who have passed through your institution perhaps on Thursday. And let us see what other impact you will be able to pull on the country, especially as the country is going through this very challenging period. Well, we have to thank you for coming on our program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Jonah Bauer is the Director General, Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, and has been speaking with us here in our Abuja studios. Well, we have your comments and feedback already. Honorable Ademola Alalade, we see you. You say that Citizenship and Leadership Center has not been fully functional, that's what you have said, and visible to Nigerians as they have not been able to produce credible leaders in Nigeria. Maybe that's the amendment they're asking for now, that everybody who's going to hold elective position in this country has to go through them. Let us see how the amendment works. It says the center needs to do more in molding and educating Nigerians to produce better leaders. I hope you're taking that feedback home, sir.
Yes, I am.